got in my head, and I freaked out. But that was a good learning experience for me, and I from then on, I whenever I get nervous, I just think of that experience and how, like, it doesn't matter. Nobody knows what they're doing. Eric says that a lot.
I do say that a lot, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's just guessing, right? Hey guys, our guest today is Braxton Bjerken, and Braxton is a very talented actor who I've worked with for years. Braxton can recently be seen in The Adam Project with Ryan Reynolds. Braxton was also on NBC's Good Girls and The Girl in the Basement with Judd Nelson, just to name a few of the projects he's been in. Braxton is a super talented actor, an all-around great guy, and I really think you're going to enjoy his perspective. One of my favorite things about this episode is a little mantra that Braxton likes to repeat to himself when times are tough, and there's just some really great insight, and I think you're gonna really dig it. I can tell you right now, there are not a lot of audition tapes when I work with an actor where I watch it over and over, right? We do the work in the room, and then that's it, we're done.
Yeah.
But I can't even tell you, man, how many of your tapes that I have sat and watched time and time again, just because I learn when I get to watch your tapes. Like, I get to learn what it's all about. In fact, your tape yesterday,
yeah.
I was watching it upstairs on the laptop, and next thing I know, like, the staff's all around me, and we were all watching your audition tape.
No way.
Yeah, but listen, and the reason is because you do the work. You do the work. You do the stuff that's necessary to be what I believe is a great actor. You have the drive. You have the focus. You have the willingness to be vulnerable. All of these things. And that's why you're here today, and I want to talk about it. So let me ask you a little bit, right, about the experience as a whole for you as an actor, because how old were you when, so Good Girls was the first?
11. I was 11.
You were 11.
Yeah.
So that's 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And not just any 4 years, right? From 11 to 15 is
it's a big time. It's a lot of changes.
A lot of changes, yeah. Literally in every possible way.
Yeah,
not
all of middle school and then coming into high school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot happens. Not to mention you're significantly taller than you were when we first started. Yeah, I think you actually, we just took a picture out there, and I think you're maybe taller than me now, and it's a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, I think I'm 5'11".
Yeah, I think that would technically, I say I'm 5'11" on my license, but I think it's like 5'10", and a half maybe.
Funny.
Yeah, but so it's been a journey, right?
Yeah.
In terms of that journey, what would you say are some of the things that have really stood out to you, some things that you've learned throughout that, not just as an actor, but as a human being?
Well, I kind of view myself as a lazy person a lot, and I'm really trying to fix that. And I think I've learned a more deeper meaning of the work ethic of it, what it really means to focus on something and to put all of yourself into it rather than just doing it. And that's kind of difficult sometimes. I've had a few auditions, I don't come as prepared, and I feel like I could have done a lot better. But sometimes I get really involved with it, and I believe myself. I convinced myself that I'm in this world, and that's, I think, the most important thing in the audition is believing that you are that person, and believing the reader and the environment that you put yourself in.
And I think it's fascinating, right? That you said you felt like you were lazy, right? Yeah. I think if you were to compare your schedule and all the things you've done, I don't think most would consider you like a lazy kid who does nothing, right? But in this industry, I think maybe you've also been able to see this is cutthroat, man.
Yeah.
This is competitive. Mm-hmm. Right? And the opportunities are few and far between. And, something that in terms of opportunities, I think it's a lot less about the opportunities and a lot more about what you do with them.
Yeah, definitely.
you know, and I think for you that's fascinating that you feel like, okay, I want to dive deeper into this. Tell me a little bit about that process. Like what is that like for you in terms of saying, okay, I'm not just going to dial it in for this, right? I'm going to take this to a deeper place. What is that process like for you?
So I first I read over the script, and I just I read it like I'm watching a movie or just reading a book, not like I am the character yet. And then I break down each line, and I'm thinking like, what am I thinking? And then I think, what do I want? What do I need? Like the 5 questions. Right,
Who
is
am
there
I?
5?
Where am I?
Yeah,
What do I
exactly.
want? Right, yeah. So
Yeah,
like, yep.
I go through that like systematically, and that's kind of the only like systematic thing. I used to like read over the script 5 times and then write it down 5 times, and then say it all 5 times, like all of my lines, just like say it out loud without looking at the script. But now I just kind of I read it, and I run it with like my mom. I feel like it's important to like run it with somebody, and if you don't, that's fine. Just run it with yourself. But like picture, build the whole scene first. Make sure you know, like even minute details just help make it real. Like imagine there's a table over there, maybe there's coffee on it. What does it smell like? And that just puts you there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Your sensory, yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
And with a reader, I'll make eye contact and like.
And just so
imagine
people
them.
understand, the reader is
Yeah.
the person who's in the audition with you, who's
Yeah.
reading with you.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
Right. The process.
Like in terms of making it real, because here's what I can say with your auditions. I have had multiple auditions of yours where I watched it and it did not feel like there was any acting happening. Right? Like shadow play, right?
That was a good one. Yeah.
That was real.
That
Like
was-
when you're in that moment and you were talking about, and what was it? It was your father being shot, right? Right. Yeah.
my mother being shot by my father.
Your mother being shot by your father.
Yeah.
Not light material, right?
No.
And you're talking about you're talking with your brother about it,
Yeah.
right? Who then shot your father, right?
Yeah, he turned the gun over. He got shot in the shoulder, and then he shot the father.
So a lot of people getting shot,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Which in real life, I mean, to try to fathom that, right,
Yeah.
is so almost incomprehensible, right?
Yeah, you gotta.
So how did you do that?
That one, I love my mom very much. I'm really close with all my family members, and I imagine my mom getting shot, and that was tough. And sometimes I get a little like too into it in the auditions, and I gotta go home and I like hug my mom for like 10 minutes.
Yeah,
And
that's
like,
important, right?
Yeah, but you it sounds messed up, but I like really just imagine my mom like dead on the floor, and that really made it real. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh. Yeah.
Right.
And that was crazy when I filmed that, because I didn't even have to, because all the blood and stuff, they use fake blood, because I booked the role.
Right.
And they use fake blood, and I was talking with the actor who played my mom, and she was actually really cool, and then she was like dead on the floor, and I mean, once you're actually on set, you don't have to build it as much, and it is easier, because it is more real.
Yeah, right. I mean, in the case we're talking about, I was your brother and your mom and
Yeah.
your dad, right?
Right.
Right? And so
Yeah.
you've got to use your imagination there.
Right, exactly.
Can you talk a little bit about that situation, right? Because having to deliver that in the audition room versus when you're on set, what that's like.
I feel there's a lot more pressure on set, and I try not. I don't think I crack under pressure that much. I don't really get that nervous, but this one time, on the set for The Girl in the Basement,
Oh yeah, the girl in the basement.
I think I had a panic attack.
Whoa.
And that was like I think the only panic attack I ever had, because that was crazy. Because Judd Nelson was on set, and for some reason I was like, oh, I gotta live up to I'm in a scene with Judd Nelson, and I just felt all this pressure from like their director was great though. It was an amazing experience, but I got in my head, and I freaked out. but that was a good learning experience for me. And I from then on, I whenever I get nervous, I just think of that experience and how, like, it doesn't matter. Nobody knows what they're doing. Eric says that a lot.
I do say that a lot, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's just guessing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But listen, man, as a 15-year-old kid, what an amazing thing for you to be able to do, right?
Yeah.
You went through this very challenging experience, and now you're able to look back at it and go, okay, no, it's not that big of a deal, I think. It's basically,
Exactly.
in the whole scheme of things. How are you able to do that, though, in your mind? What do you do in order to give yourself the sort of mental fortitude to be able to go through that, right? Because that's hard for anyone, let alone a kid who's, going through puberty, I think. I mean, I know it might be uncomfortable, but, like, it's true.
Yeah,
like, that's literally what
yeah.
happens when you're a teenager.
Right.
So hormonally, right? Because our hormones control a lot of what we do.
Yeah.
So you're going through all this crazy stuff. So how are you able to do that to keep your mind strong and to not get overwhelmed?
It's great to have someone there that you can talk to, and well, what I did then, the way I, like, got over that, I guess, panic attack, I went to the bathroom and I just looked myself in the mirror, and I told myself, nobody knows what they're doing. It's okay. This is an amazing opportunity. You get to do this, and I say this a lot to myself. I'm just having a good time. And for some reason, it's like a trigger word of just, like, happiness. I'm having a good time.
You just literally go, I'm just having a good time.
Yeah, I'm just having a good time. I say that all the time. Like, when I'm taking a test, I'm just having a good time. And I just took a few deep breaths, and I got back out, and then I did the scene, and it was awesome.
That's really funny that like felt kind of like Matthew McConaughey. As like,
Yeah.
Man,
I'm just having a good time, man.
That's funny, but it's true though, right? Because I think what happens a lot with actors or people in general, they do the task to finish it.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like I just got to get this done.
Yeah.
Right? Like I got to get through this. I got to be able to do this because there's pressure, and I got to once I get it done, everything's good. But then the problem there is they don't get to just
Exactly.
have a good time, man.
You paint a picture like you just need to get it done, it won't be that great. But if you paint a picture and you take every stroke like it matters, it's gonna be a beautiful picture.
Whoa, dude, that
was very philosophical.
Did you just come up with that?
Yeah, man.
That's awesome. But you're right, though, man. You're right. You're right in terms of, every stroke matters. And I think this comes back to the process over the product.
Yeah.
And it seems to me you enjoy the process.
Definitely.
Okay, that was a quick definitely. Talk to me a little bit about that, right? Like, because the process is work, the process takes time, the process doesn't really get seen by most people, right?
Yeah.
Outside of your acting coach and maybe your parents, like, the process is your thing. Talk to me about what is it about the process that you love?
Well, first of all, the challenge is fun. It's just something to. It's a challenge. It's competition. It's fun. And the traveling is awesome, of course, and just meeting people is awesome. I always meet, like, the most amazing people on set. It's always the PAs who are the best.
And so those are the production assistants for people that don't. And what do you mean? What is it about the PAs that make them the best?
I don't know. They're just always cool people. So there's the guys usually who are in charge of, like, going to get you. Hey, we gotta go this way, and, like.
They're basically just like they're told to do whatever they do whatever they're told to do. The production assistants.
Exactly.
But I think that's great. And shout out to the PAs out there.
Definitely.
I mean, I think that's that. I like that. That's who you mentioned.
Yeah.
Right. You have these directors and producers, and you go, you know who I love are the PAs.
Yeah.
But and not from a perspective of, like, they do what not like they do what they're told to do, but from this perspective of you seem to connect with them in that process. Now, what about just the process? Like, if we were to go a little bit more in terms of, like, the feelings and going through the process, like, what do you think you love about the process of acting, right? Not the booking of the jobs.
Yeah,
but
right. Yeah,
but the
of course.
process.
The building of worlds is cool. The imaginary places. It's like going on an adventure every time I'm here, and I just get to be whoever. It says on the script. It's because writers are so good, and if I get to put myself into that world for just like an hour session, that's a blast, and I get to. I love to create, and so it's an outlet of creation, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. It's true, right? Because the product, it's done.
Yeah.
Right? Like people think about it like I want to book a job, but then like once you book the job, it's done. You don't
it's
get to
gone.
create anymore. I mean, you do on other stuff, but it's
Right.
like the creation should be the fun.
Exactly.
You know, and what was your line again? I'm just here to have a good time.
I'm just having a good time.
I'm just having a good time, man.
Yeah.
I think that's so important because if you're having fun in the process, A, it's more fun.
Exactly. Yeah.
But B, I think you actually deliver better work.
Definitely. Yeah, I would agree.
Don't you think when you're enjoying it, it frees you up to create at a higher level?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So, all right. So you Atom Project. So that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So that's hit pretty big,
Yeah.
right? What was it like filming out in Canada? How was that?
It was awesome. It's so beautiful up there.
Yeah.
Vancouver, it's a huge city. We were on like the 23rd floor of this big hotel.
And in November, so it wasn't warm.
No, it was not. It was brisk. Yeah, we when we were filming that outdoor scene, where I pull Adam against the wall and I punch him, our breath was showing, and it was supposed to be, it was like they would put ice in our mouth to cool down our mouths so that the breath wouldn't show, but that didn't work, and it was also COVID times, so we had mouthwash like because it was a close contact scene because I was like putting him against the wall.
Yeah.
And so we had mouthwash and then ice in our mouth. It was, so you know how that is, like when you
That
brush
sounds
your teeth
brutal.
and then drink
Yeah,
water.
yeah, it sounds.
It's so funny. And it didn't work. If you watch the movie, you can see the water vapor coming out of our mouths. But
You could still see your breath a little bit.
yeah, but it was really cold up there. But beautiful. And we took one of those smaller planes, the biplanes, I think.
Okay, yeah, like a little Cessna, like the
Yeah.
other, yeah.
Over like the mountains. It was awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's a great city, great food, great people.
What would you say has been? Would you say that the girl in the basement? That's what it's called, right?
Yeah.
The girl in the basement. Would you say the girl in the basement was that scene was the most challenging thing that you've faced as an actor?
It was definitely the most emotion that, yes, it probably was the most challenging.
Now let me ask you this: what would you say was a time where you had an opportunity and you didn't seize it? Which like whether on set or whatever. And I want to talk a little bit how that felt. We can also call this a failure, right? And I think failure is an interesting term because I look at failure as it's just a part of the process, right?
Yeah.
You're going to fail and you're going to succeed. You're going to do both. But in terms of failing, I do think it's we can learn a lot from failures, right?
Right.
What's a moment where you felt like you failed and what was something maybe that you got out of it, a gift you got out of it?
2 years ago, I was on vacation in Florida, and this is actually how the audition process started for the Atom Project. I was auditioning for Adam, the young version of Adam, and I was on vacation, and I was like, man, I don't want to learn all these lines because it was the lead role. It was a lot of lines, and so I didn't, and I was holding my script, and I was underprepared, and I was on a Skype with you, I think, when we filmed it.
Yeah.
And I didn't care as much, and I regret that so much because, but I learned from it.
But talk about the regret. Like, talk about, because I think there's value in regretting something because it allows it to be a catalyst for good. But like, you can see in your face, like, it's like you can go right back into that and think about it. Like, what does that feel like with that when you think back on that?
Well, laziness again. Because, of course, Walker was a better fit, but I guess like my parents were talking to me. It's like Ryan Reynolds is great. And I just, for some reason, I felt like I didn't need to do the work. But what I learned from that is, you always need to do the work. But like, as for the regret, I don't know. I was disappointed in myself for not working as hard. And so from then on, I work a lot harder on them.
Yeah, I think that's the value of disappointment, right? I mean, when you're disappointed in yourself, hopefully, right? Because I guess it could go the other way too, right? If you're disappointed, you might just feel like, okay, well, I can't do this. I don't have that. But I think that's what separates what I would consider the 1% from the 99.
Yeah, learning from the failures instead of getting angry here.
Right. And learning and then applying the things that you've learned.
Yeah.
You know? Right. What about, let's talk a little bit about, like, where do you, what are some of the auditions you've done where you felt like you just knocked it out of the park and no one ever got to see it and you were like, oh man. And talk a little bit about that.
Do you remember Imagine the Moon?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I don't think we can talk much about that yet. It's not out, but
Right. We can't necessarily talk about the specifics of it, but you did audition for it.
But they sent the whole script. I read the whole thing. I totally vibed with it. I loved that. And I remember we came in to this room to film it, and you were like, "How are you doing? How are we feeling?" And I was like in tears already.
Yeah, I remember that.
You remember that?
And I was like, "Oh, wait, hold on, don't start crying yet."
Right, because it was.
You were so connected to that.
Yeah, I was. I think that is probably the most connected I'd ever been to a script, like to this day, and that was a really fun experience.
What was it about that? What do you think it was about that script or that character that you just connected with it so much? Because I remember it. I remember that audition.
Well, the character had such this way of like ignoring everything, even though he's really like, he has so many terrible problems that he doesn't deserve to be facing, but he laughs it all off, and then it finally like catches up to him that not everything can be passed off as a joke, and it's sad. It's a sad story, and I guess I related a lot to him in the fact that I kind of brush off my problems a lot, and yeah. Can have some
man.
water.
Yeah. No, I think that's, first of all, very emotionally mature for you to connect like that. Yeah. Secondly, I think that's one of the gifts as an actor is that you get to vicariously live through these other people's experiences. You get to feel your emotions.
Exactly. Yeah, you can learn about your own emotions through these characters' emotions. It's a really interesting journey, like through yourself.
Yeah. And not to mention, you get to share it.
Yeah.
Through other dialogue, so it's almost like you get to secretly feel and share all your thoughts.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's through a character, so you're like, oh no, I'm just acting.
Right. No, I'm just acting.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's interesting though. It's interesting that's the one. What was it called again?
Imagine the Moon.
Imagine the Moon.
Yeah.
All right. So Imagine the Moon. When you watch it, imagine Braxton's face.
Yeah.
And think about that. Yeah. No, that's cool though, man. Now let's talk about. I want to know, moving forward, right? So now you've been acting for a while. Started out with theater, right? Yep. Still do theater?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Still do theater. What if you could paint the picture, like, right? You go, all right, so like I'm a magic genie, right?
Okay.
Right? So I'm like Will Smith and, Aladdin, right? Well,
Well, we're not gonna talk about.
no, I'm not the Oscars Will Smith. I'm Aladdin Will Smith.
Yeah.
Right. And
Okay.
so I can grant you any wish, right?
Any wish.
And it's in terms of acting, like if you could paint the picture for yourself as an actor looking forward, what does it look like?
I want something that people can relate to, and something real. I guess like. You mean like the ideal project or like the other?
All of it.
me?
Like, so like if you're just going to look at yourself, right? Like, so let me tell you, okay?
Yep.
I want to help over 1 million people live the life they want to live and be the best version of themselves that they can be. I want to be the catalyst for that. Okay? That's something that I want to do. I want to affect over 1 million people in a way where they are being the best version of who they are, okay? I'd like to do that through podcasts and interviews and shows and what have you.
Yeah.
And I want to do that through Catapult and through other ventures. So, like, that's how I would say, like, if somebody said, okay, like, that's what I want to do.
Right.
So if you were to think about yourself in terms of acting, in terms of the effect you would like to have on others, right? Like, what's the picture if you could paint it?
I guess I want them to relate to me, and I want them to discover something about themselves when they watch me. So
Why are you smiling?
I don't know. I'm picturing the ideal version of me, and I guess I see like someone who's more confident and someone who's less lazy, maybe. Someone who connects more with people. Sometimes I feel like I put too much pressure on myself to connect more with people, and then I still fail at like connecting. But I really want to, I guess, connect. Connection is my big goal. I want to connect with the audience. I want to connect with my loved ones, people around me. And I want to make someone feel something and question something about themselves.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I like that. Now, in terms of projects, what sounds like the most fun project, like in terms of whether it's with actors or directors or genre? Like if you were like, dude, this, like if I was doing this with these people or this type of like what to you sounds like where you are also affecting these people, connecting with these people?
Yeah, you know the Percy Jackson ones?
I do.
That would be so sick. We filmed a Percy Jackson audition yesterday.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
And it's the third character you read for.
Yeah, we've done 3 Percy Jackson auditions. That series looks awesome. And I actually haven't read the books, but I really want to.
So you're listening, okay? Casting, production. This is the third character he's read for. Clearly you like him. He had a callback for it. I just asked him his ideal Percy Jackson. Okay?
Percy Jackson.
But it's something like that would be the ideal.
Harry Potter type stuff. Like it's cool. It's but also like the serious, like real stuff like that. Like Paul Giamatti, or who's another good one? Yeah, stuff like that. Like that's really real and relatable, but also like a sick, like Percy Jackson type thing, where it has a really good lesson and like meaning behind it, but it's also like fun, like monsters and stuff. Yeah, because that's cool. Right.
You want a lot of meaning and connection.
Yeah. And monsters.
And monsters.
Yeah.
I love it, man. Well, listen, Braxton, I can tell you this, dude. I've had the opportunity now to work with thousands of actors over the years, right? Thousands of actors. And you are a part of that 1%, man. I mean, like if somebody said, all right, who's your all-star team? Who are you putting all your money on? You would be on that team, dude. And, okay, you can call yourself lazy at times. And sure, you're also a teenager, right? You got a lot of stuff. But when it comes down to being open and vulnerable and listening and taking direction and doing all of the things, having the drive, doing the things that I believe are essential to achieving success, you check all the boxes, man. And I hope selfishly that you keep doing this, because I think you've got a gift, and I think as you continue to strengthen it, the world is going to appreciate that gift, and that dream of connecting will come true, and you will be able to have an impact beyond anything I think you can fathom right now. So,
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, dude. We done. All right, man.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, man. Oh,
You have like the best compliments ever.
Thank you so much for joining us on The Unseen Work. We really appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. If you want to learn a little bit more about The Unseen Work, follow us on Instagram at The Unseen Work, at The Unseen Work, and that is UNSCENE.